Have you ever looked at your life and wondered why certain patterns keep repeating? Why you attract the same kind of people, the same kind of challenges, or the same silent frustrations, no matter how hard you try to change your circumstances? Not a coincidence. There are invisible forces guiding everything in this universe. Forces that don't show themselves directly, but shape your reality every single day. They're not magic. They're not fantasy. They're laws, universal laws that are always working, whether you know about them or not. And once you understand them, something shifts. You start to see that your thoughts have power. Your emotions create waves. Your actions send energy into the world, and what comes back is a reflection of you. This isn't about religion. It's not about blind belief. It's about becoming aware of how energy moves, how choices ripple, how focus becomes form, and how the universe responds. To every small vibration you send into it, the moment you learn to work with these laws, life changes. Not all at once, but deeply, quietly, and over time, powerfully. You begin to stop blaming the outside world. You stop waiting for someone else to rescue you. Stop thinking life is happening to you, and you start realizing it's happening through you. This is what we're diving into today. 12 laws of the universe. They're not just ideas, they're instructions. Gentle reminders that everything is energy, and you are the artist, the builder, the speaker, the dreamer. When you live by these laws, you don't need to control everything. You just need to align. And when you align, things start working. Relationships feel easier. Your confidence grows. You understand why things happened in the past and how to shape your future with intention, not fear. Maybe right now you feel stuck. Maybe life has been loud, confusing, even painful lately. Maybe you're tired of giving so much and getting so little back. Maybe you've been carrying quiet guilt, silent sadness, or pressure to become something you're not even sure you believe in anymore. You're not alone. Everyone reaches that moment when the surface life doesn't feel enough. When you want something deeper, truer, more aligned, that's when the journey begins. That's when people start asking questions that matter. Who am I? Why? Am I here? Why do I keep attracting the same pain? And is there really something bigger guiding all of this? Yes, there is. And it's not outside of you. It's not waiting in the stars. It's been with you all along. Inside your breath, your thoughts, your intentions. The universe is not somewhere far away. It lives in your awareness, in your choices, in how you respond. These laws won't solve every problem overnight. They won't guarantee instant success. But they will give you a map, a rhythm, pattern to follow when the world feels too noisy. You'll learn how your energy shapes outcomes, how your thoughts build momentum. Patience is not weakness, but wisdom. How every time you react or choose, you're sending a message to the universe, and the universe replies. It's not always in your timing. It's not always in the way you expect. But it's always precise. That's why this journey matters. That's why you're here, because something inside you already knows. There's more to life than random events. There's more to your purpose than surviving, and more to your future than repeating the past. You're not just here to watch life happen. You're here to participate in its creation, to step into alignment with something much bigger than fear, doubt, or limitation. So let's begin. Let's walk through each of these 12 laws not just as ideas, but as living truths, stories, with examples, with practical guidance. With the kind of reflection that makes you pause and feel what's real. You don't need to remember every word. Just listen. Let it wash over you. Let it land in your heart, because the truth you're ready for will always find you. And as we go deeper, you'll begin to see the universe has always been speaking to you. All it was waiting for. Your attention. The law of divine oneness, everything is connected, even if it doesn't look like it. Even if it doesn't feel like it underneath all the noise, all the distractions, all the chaos, we are one. You, the stranger walking past you on the street, the person who hurt you, the child laughing in the background, the trees, the air, the water, even the planets in the sky. We're not separate. We're threads in the same invisible fabric. When you speak, when you act, when you feel something intensely, it doesn't stop with you. It moves, it flows, it ripples out into the world. And the energy you put into the world, circles back. That's the essence of divine oneness. And when you truly begin to understand this law, something deep inside you shifts. You stop thinking in terms of me and them. You begin to think in terms of we. You begin to see that everything you do affects something else. You start to feel a quiet kind of responsibility, not the kind that feels heavy, but the kind that feels honest, because you realize if we are all connected, then every word you speak matters. Every thought you think carries weight. Every choice you make, even the small ones, creates an echo that goes beyond what you can see. Think about a time when someone smiled at you. Just a simple smile, but it changed your entire mood. That was oneness. Think about how the mood of a single person in a room can lift everyone up or pull everyone down. That's oneness. Or think about how your inner pain can sometimes make you unintentionally hurt others. Even the people you love, that's oneness. 2. Everything is woven together, and we're all part of something bigger. When you realize this, you stop living on autopilot. You stop living only for yourself. You begin to care more because you realize your energy doesn't just stay inside you. It's always moving outward. And here's the beautiful part. Just like your energy affects the world reflects energy back to you. It's not punishment. It's not reward. It's reflection. This is why the law of divine oneness teaches awareness. Because the more aware you become of what you send out through your words, your thoughts, your emotions, the more clearly you understand what's coming back to you. It's not about blaming yourself when bad things happen. It's about asking yourself, what am I contributing to this moment? And what kind of energy do I want to carry into the next one? This law also teaches compassion, because when you really accept that we are one, it becomes harder to hate, harder to judge, harder to dismiss someone else's pain. Because even if you don't agree with them, even if you can't understand their choices, you know they're still a reflection of the same human experience you're living. You see their fear. You see their hunger to be seen, to be loved, to be understood. And even when you have to walk away from someone, you do it with love. You do it without bitterness, because you understand hurting them only hurts yourself, and that's the quiet power of this law. It brings you back to love. It brings you back to humility. It reminds you that no matter how far you go, no matter how high you climb or how low you fall, you're never alone. You're never disconnected. The breath you take is shared. The pain you feel is felt by others. The love you give returns to you in ways you may never expect. And the more you live with this awareness, the more peaceful you become, because you stop trying to control everything outside of you, and you start mastering what's inside of you. That's where your power lives, and the world around you. It starts to shift not because you forced it, but because you aligned with something higher than ego, higher than fear, higher than separation. You aligned with unity, and unity is healing. Unity is growth. Unity. The law of divine oneness. So let's pause for a moment. Think about the last time you felt truly disconnected. Maybe you felt alone in a crowd or misunderstood by someone you care about. Maybe you were going through something and it seemed like no one saw your pain. No one noticed your silence. No one heard what you weren't saying out loud. In moments like that, it's easy to believe we're isolated. It's easy to think no one gets me. I'm in this alone. But the law of divine oneness says something different. It says you're never alone, even in your quietest pain, even in your lowest moment. Because the energy you carry, it reaches out. Someone, somewhere is carrying a thread of that. Same emotion. We are mirrors for each other. When you feel heartbreak, there are others around the world, that exact moment feeling the same ache. Different story, different face, same human emotion. When you feel joy, that joy moves like light through others. One act of kindness, one thoughtful word, can lift the energy of an entire room. That's the ripple. It's oneness in motion. But here's what makes this law truly powerful. Once you believe everything is connected, you start to take responsibility for your energy, not out of guilt, but out of love. You realize that complaining constantly sends more negativity into the web. You realize that judging someone else creates separation inside you. You realize that the way you treat strangers isn't small. It echoes. Even when no one sees, even when no one thanks you, it still matters. And on the other side, you also realize that healing yourself helps others heal too. When you speak more gently to yourself, you begin to speak more gently to the people around. When you forgive someone not for them, but for you, you release anger that would have spilled into other relationships. When you love yourself enough to stop accepting less than you deserve, you show others what self-worth looks like. That's what the law of divine oneness teaches. That every single inner shift you make creates a wave outside of you. It means your healing is not selfish. Your joy is not selfish. Your boundaries are not selfish. They are part of the healing of the whole. You're not just doing it for you, you're doing it for the collective. For your family, your friends, even people you'll never meet, because the energy you carry touches more than you'll ever know, and it goes even deeper. Because if we're truly one, then the way we treat the earth, the way we treat animals, the way we treat the silence between our words, it all matters. It's easy to feel powerless in a world this big, but this law reminds you that you're not powerless. You're powerful because everything you think, everything you do carries weight. You are a thread in this great fabric, and without you, something would be missing. Your presence shifts the shape of the universe. That's not a metaphor. That's truth. Even your existence, your being here, listening Noah is part of something far bigger than what you can see. And maybe, just maybe, the universe brought this message to you right now. It's for a reason, to remind you that you're not small, to remind you that your story matters, that your presence carries impact, that your energy is felt, and that even when it feels like no one sees you, the universe sees you. It's responding, it's listening, it's reflecting. So the question becomes, what are you putting out? What kind of energy do you want to echo back? What kind of love are you ready to receive? It's because what you're willing to give what you're ready to feel, what you're open enough to share. It all comes back. Not always from the same place, not always in the way you expect, but always in time. And the more aligned your thoughts, your actions, your intentions, more beautiful the reflection becomes, because the universe doesn't speak in words, it speaks in energy, in vibration, in alignment. And when you live in alignment with oneness, you don't need to force anything. You simply live with love, and love becomes the language that life speaks back to you. The law of divine. Oneness, sometimes we forget how much power we really hold. Not power in a loud way. Not the kind of power that tries to control everything around us. But a quiet power. A deeper kind. The power that comes from knowing. You're already connected to everything. You don't have to chase it. You don't have to force it. It's already there. And yet most of us live as if we're separate. We're taught to compete, to compare, to protect ourselves from each other, to build walls instead of bridges. And when we do that long enough, we start to feel isolated, numb, closed off. We forget that love is the most. It's natural energy in the world. We forget that healing isn't something we do alone. It's something that happens in relationship, in connection, in community. Because when you hurt, others feel it. When you heal, others are inspired to do the same. When you rise, you lift more than just yourself. That's the truth behind the law of divine oneness. Your transformation is never just about you, and neither is your pain. Think of the world like a big, visible web. Every thought is a vibration. Every action sends a signal. And every time you choose love instead of fear, patience instead of anger, understanding instead of judgment, the entire web changes just a little. You may not see it, but the energy shifts. It's like the flap of a butterfly's wing tiny, capable of changing the winds halfway across the world. That's how much your energy matters, even when no one's watching, even when no one claps, even when no one says thank you, it still matters, because the universe always sees what's real, what's honest, what's pure. You don't need an audience to make an impact. You just need intention. You just need truth. And you need to remember when you love yourself. When you speak kindly to yourself. When you choose peace inside. Peace doesn't stop at your skin. It moves outward. It changes the way you walk into rooms. It changes how you look at strangers. It softens your tone with the people closest to you. That's how real healing begins. Not through big, dramatic moments, but in the small choices, the quiet shifts. The energy you carry when no one is around. You see, oneness isn't just a concept. It's a practice. It's the way you breathe when you're frustrated. The way you listen when someone else is speaking. Their truth, the way you forgive not because someone deserves it, but because you don't want to carry the weight anymore. It's the way you move through the world with grace, with awareness, with love. And it's okay if you forget. Sometimes we all do. But this law doesn't stop working just because we lose sight of it. It's still there, reminding us, calling us back to connection, to kindness, to compassion. Because no matter what's happened in your past, no matter who hurt you, no matter what you've done or what you've lost, you are still part of this universe. You are still loved by it. You are still connected to something greater. And the moment you remember that, you start to live differently. You start to forgive more easily. You start to let go of resentment that no longer serves you. You start to feel lighter, freer, more grounded, and slowly, beautifully, I begin to trust again, not just in others, but in life itself. That's the gift of divine oneness. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. Present with your thoughts. Present with your emotions. Present with the truth that your energy is sacred. And it affects more than just you, because you matter, because we all do. And because when even one person starts living from love instead of fear, one person becomes a light, and that light spreads. Asterisk, let's imagine something for a moment. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a quiet lake. No wind, no sound, just still water. Now, you take a small stone and gently toss it into the middle. You don't throw it hard. You don't need to. It's just a small drop. And what happens? Ripples, waves spreading out in perfect circles, wider and wider, until they reach every edge of that lake. That's exactly how this energy works. That's exactly how oneness feels in real life. Every word you speak is like that stone. Every thought, every intention, every decision, they all create ripples, and those ripples touch more lives than you'll ever know. You may not hear the results, you may not get applause or recognition, but the effect is still real. You smile at someone who's having a hard day. You don't know it, but that smile gives them enough strength to keep going. Later, they pass that energy to someone else. It continues. It all started with you. That's not small. That's sacred. And when you begin to live with this awareness, not as pressure, but as purpose, everything becomes more meaningful. Even simple things. The way you respond when someone bests being difficult. The way you speak when no one's watching. The way you care. Even when it's not convenient. This is not about being perfect. It's not about being some kind of saint. It's about being real. It's being present and realizing that your choices carry weight, that your energy shapes the room you walk into, that your heart matters more than you think. We live in a world that tells us to hurry, to produce, to perform, to prove. But the law of divine oneness doesn't ask you to do more. It asks you to feel more, to become more conscious of what you're bringing into every moment, and to ask yourself, is this thought bringing connection or separation? Is this reaction building love or creating distance? Is this silence holding space or hiding truth? You don't have to fix everything. You just have to show up with love, with clarity, with compassion for yourself and for others. And yes, it's boundaries too, because even oneness respects space. Even love needs limits sometimes. That's part of being human. But the key is this. Don't confuse boundaries with disconnection. You can walk away from something harmful and still carry love in your heart. You can say no and still be kind. You can speak truth even when it's hard and still be deeply connected to the greater good. Asterisk. That's what the law of oneness teaches: unity, not uniformity. We're not meant to all think the same, feel the same, act the same. We're meant to honor our differences while remembering. Underneath it all, we are one. And when we forget, life gives us moments that remind us. Moments when a stranger helps us without asking for anything. Moments when we see ourselves in someone else's story. Moments when we feel moved by a song, or a sunset, or a deep breath in the middle of chaos. That's the universe speaking. That's connection. That's your soul remembering something the world made you forget. And when you live from that place, not all the time, even just more often, life softens. You stop trying to win. You stop needing to be right. You stop holding on to pain that doesn't serve your peace. And you begin to live in flow with life, with people, the deeper part of yourself. That's the magic of this law. It reminds you that you are not separate. You never were, and you never will be. There's something peaceful about realizing you don't have to carry everything alone. When you begin to live with the understanding that we're all connected, your burdens feel lighter, not because the problems disappear, not because your heart starts to open again. You begin to see that others are struggling too. You begin to realize that everyone is carrying something you can't see, and that awareness makes you more human, more gentle, more real. You stop needing to pretend that you're strong all the time, because strength and truth is not about holding it all in. Strength is about knowing when to reach out, knowing when to slow down, knowing when to say, this hurts, and that's okay. Because if we're all connected, your pain is not a weakness, it's a doorway to compassion. Your sadness doesn't isolate you, it deepens your empathy. And the more honest you become with yourself, the more honest you can be with others. Oneness allows that. It allows space for imperfection. It allows room for growth. It allows you to stop pretending and start healing. Because there's a kind of healing that only happens in connection. The kind where someone simply listens. The kind where someone says, me too. The kind where you realize you're not broken, just human, and in that moment, you don't need to be fixed. You just need to be seen, heard, held, understood. That's what oneness was. It brings us back to our shared humanity, not in a shallow way, but in a sacred one. And when you see life through this lens, everything changes. Even ordinary moments become meaningful. Even silent moments carry connection. Even walking down the street. Looking into a stranger's eyes, you begin to feel that quiet sense of, we're not that different. You may have different stories, different wounds, different dreams, but the same breath runs through both of you. The same light, the same spark. And when you really let that truth sink in, you stop seeing people as problems. You start seeing them as mirrors. Mirrors that show you something about your fears, your love, your desires, your shadows. And that can be uncomfortable. But it can also be healing. Because when you're ready to stop blaming the world, when you're ready to stop running from yourself, oneness offers a path back. Back to wholeness. Back to peace. Back to remembering that life. It's not about being better than others. It's about being better with them. It's about rising together, growing together, healing. Even when it's hard, even when it's messy, even when it takes time, because nothing in this universe is truly separate. And the more we remember that, the more we begin to treat each other and ourselves with the care we all deserve. Some people go their whole lives searching for purpose. They look for it in jobs, in titles, in relationships. They chase achievements. They collect things. They build status. And still deep down, something feels missing. But what if purpose isn't something you chase? You remember, what if it's not found in doing more, but in being more connected? Because when you live from a place of oneness, your life begins to shift, not because the outside changes, but because your inner world wakes up. You start to feel things differently. You begin to move with more care. You speak with more presence. You feel more alive in the simple moments. A cup of tea, a quiet walk, a deep conversation. These things start to feel sacred, and suddenly you don't need as much noise. You don't need to impress anyone. You don't need to run anymore, because you realize your life is not separate from the universe. You are not apart from your surroundings. you are part of. Everything, and everything is part of you, even the hard things. Even the moments that broke you, even the silence that made you feel forgotten. They all belong. They all taught you something. They were all connected to something greater than you could see at the time. That's the deeper message of divine oneness. Nothing is random. Nothing is wasted. Not the joy, not the pain, not the detours, the delays, not the tears you cried when no one was watching. It all weaves into something that's meaningful, something bigger than your story alone. And when you begin to trust that, when you start to live as if your energy matters, as if your words ripple outward, as if your choices help shape the world, you stop waiting for life to give you purpose. You start giving life to your purpose. You start living on purpose. You start choosing with intention, not to get praise, not to get power, but to live in alignment with what you know is true. That your energy is sacred, that your life is a light, and that even the smallest act of kindness, the tiniest shift in awareness, can make a bigger difference than you'll ever realize. So what do you do with that? You breathe. You return to yourself. You treat your thoughts like seeds. You treat your words like water. You treat your heart like a compass. And you ask yourself again and again, am I moving from connection or from fear? Because the more you move from connection, the more aligned you become. The more you give from love, not lack, the more the universe mirrors that love back to you. And that's not a promise made from hope. That's a law, a truth, design written into the fabric of reality itself. The law of divine. Oneness is not just spiritual, it's practical. It changes how you work, how you love, how you parent, how you handle conflict, how you forgive. It brings you out of your head, back into your heart. Not to be naive, but to be present, to be awake, to be aware that you are more than just one person moving through the world. You are a piece of something sacred, and that sacredness is always inviting you to rise, to reconnect, to remember, to return to who you were before the world told you to forget. You know, sometimes we're taught that healing means fixing something broken. But what if you're not broken? What if you never were? What if the pain you've carried, the fear you've held on to, the mistakes you've made, weren't proof of your failure, but signs of your humanity? What if those moments were necessary parts of your path so that you could understand what it really means to reconnect? Because that's what the law of divine oneness is about. RECONNECTION. Not just to others, but to yourself, because you can't fully connect with the world around you until you come home to the world inside you. That's why healing begins. Inward, not with blame, not with judgment, but with honesty, with presence, with saying, this is how I feel, this is where I'm hurt, I'm ready to face it. Asterisk, not because it's easy, but because you're tired of carrying the weight of disconnection. We don't talk about that enough. The weight of feeling disconnected from your own spirit. It's heavy. It shows up as anxiety, as numbness, as the feeling that you're drifting through life. It's going through the motions, but not really living it. And the more you push those feelings away, the louder they get, until one day something cracks. And what spills out isn't just pain. It's a deep longing to belong to yourself, to the world, to something sacred, to something true. That's why this law matters. Because when you embrace the truth of oneness, you don't have to pretend anymore. You don't have to keep performing strength. You don't have to act like everything is fine. When your heart is aching, you just get to be honest, and that honesty becomes your light. It draws the right people to you. It dissolves the masks. It creates space for connection that isn't based on appearances, but on energy, on truth, on love. Asterisk. And in that space, you find real healing, the kind that doesn't come from fixing, the kind that comes from remembering that. You are not your wounds. You are not your past. You are not your worst days. You are the one who survived them. You are the one who's still breathing, still choosing, still trying. And every time you open your heart, again, even when it's hard, you're saying to the universe, I'm still here, still believe in connection, still believe in love. That belief is powerful. It's rare. And it's what the world needs more of. Because when enough of us live with that kind of awareness, when enough of us choose compassion over control, presence over performance, unity over ego, the world starts to shift. We begin to feel it in our families, in our friendships, in our communities, and even in ourselves quietly. Beautifully, we begin to soften, not because we're weak, but because we've remembered what strength really is. Strength is the ability to stay open when life tries to harden you. Strength is choosing love again after you've been hurt. Strength is walking back into connection. Even when fear tells you to stay alone, you are that strong. You always have been. There's a moment, quiet and personal, when you realize, you've spent a long time searching for something outside of you. Maybe it was approval. Maybe it was love. Maybe it was security, or peace, or freedom. Whatever it was, you kept looking outward, hoping the world would give it to you, hoping the right person, the right job, the right timing would finally make you feel complete. But what if I told you everything you were searching for was always inside of you? What if the missing piece wasn't out there? What if it was buried beneath layers of noise, expectation, fear, and forgetfulness? That's what the Law of Divine Oneness reveals. It brings you home, not to a place, but to yourself. It reminds you that the love you long for is the love you were made of, that the peace you crave is the peace that lives beneath the surface, waiting for you to slow down enough to feel it, that the connection you want is always available. It's the moment you drop the walls and open your heart. But this isn't just about soft emotions. It's also about alignment. Because when you live in separation, when you believe you're cut off from the whole, you feel lost, confused. Like you have to figure everything out alone. But when you remember that you're part of something bigger, that the same intelligence that created the stars also created you, you begin to move differently. You stop forcing. You stop chasing. You start listening. You start aligning, and alignment. It feels like peace, even in chaos. It feels like clarity, even when the road ahead is uncertain, because you're no longer trying to control the world. You're simply flowing with it. You're not resisting what is. You're learning from it. That's the difference between surviving and living. Surviving is reacting to everything around you. Living is creating from the inside out. And creation begins with connection. You can't create from fear. You can't manifest from separation. But when you feel oneness with the universe, with your purpose, with your breath, you create from truth. You create from love. And what comes from love always carries light. Always. Even when the results take time. Even when the journey is long. Even when the people around you don't understand. That's okay. Because the more you stay connected to who you are, the less you need the world's approval, the less you chase attention, the less you bend yourself to fit someone else's expectations. You become clear. You become grounded. You become whole again. And wholeness is where real peace begins. It's strange, isn't it? How easy it is to feel alone in a world filled with people. We scroll, we message, we meet, speak, and still, sometimes, the loneliness lingers. It's not because we don't have people around, it's because we've forgotten the depth of real connection. We've replaced presence with distraction. We've mistaken performance for intimacy. We've traded our truth for safety, and in doing so, we drifted slowly, silently away from ourselves and from each other. But the law of divine oneness pulls us back. It reminds us that real connection isn't about having many people. It's about being deeply connected to a few. And more importantly, being deeply connected to yourself. Because when you reconnect with yourself, when you stop running, when you sit with your emotions, when you face your thoughts instead of avoiding them, you start to soften. You start to open, and slowly, you start to trust again. Not just people, but life. You begin to see that the universe is not against you. It never was. It was always trying to guide youth through lessons, through losses, through moments that stretched you beyond what you thought you could handle. Even the pain had a purpose. Even the confusion carried light, because everything you've been through shaped who you are right now. And who you are right now. It's the result of survival, of searching, of strength, and now, of awareness. That's where power lives. In awareness, because when you know you are one with everything, you stop trying to control everything. You start trusting the flow. You begin to make choices that align with love, not fear. You begin to forgive not because others always deserve it, but because you deserve peace. You begin to speak more truthfully. Even when your voice shakes, you begin to listen more openly. Even when the words hurt, you begin to show up fully as yourself. Even when it's uncomfortable, because you know now. You are part of something greater. You don't need to shrink to be accepted. You don't need to perform to be loved. You don't need to hide your heart to stay safe. You are allowed to be who you are and still belong. You are allowed to feel deeply, still be strong. You are allowed to be soft and still be powerful. This is the truth. It's oneness reveals. And once you taste that truth, you no longer crave shallow approval. You crave depth. You crave presence. You crave connection. That doesn't need words to be real, and slowly you begin to attract it because your energy shifts, because your vibration rises, because your life begins to reflect the light you've always carried. And now we come full circle, back to the beginning, back to the quiet truth that started it all. Everything is connected, and you are not an accident in this universe. You are not here by chance. You are here with, meaning you are here with power. You are here as one thread in a vast, intelligent design that includes every person you've met, every place you've touched, every experience that shaped you. You are not separate from this world. You are a part of its heartbeat, part of its breath, a part of its healing. And the moment you stop fighting that truth, the moment you stop pretending you're on your own, that's when you come home to yourself. 2. Peace. 2. Purpose. And it begins in the smallest ways, in the way you choose your words, in the way you treat your body, in the way you speak to yourself. When no one is around, that's where the vibration starts. And that vibration echoes outward into your relationships, into your work, into your presence. You begin to notice things. The way your mood shifts the energy in a room, the way your calm can bring peace to others, the way your love, even unspoken, is felt like light by people who never learned how to name their pain. And you realize this is the work, not saving the world overnight, not fixing everyone, not carrying the weight of it all, but being aligned, being conscious, being loving, even when it's hard, and letting that love spread. One moment at a time, one breath at a time. You don't have to be perfect to live. This way you just have to be willing. Willing to pause before you react. Willing to forgive without forgetting your worth. Willing to ask deeper questions. Willing to walk slower, feel more, and listen to what life is really trying to tell you. Because life speaks softly, but when you tune in, it speaks truth, it speaks love, and it speaks oneness. You are not just connected to the universe. You are the universe expressed in human form. You are the drop. And the ocean, you are the breath. And the breeze, you are the one who carries light. And the moment you live as if that's true, everything changes because your energy begins to lead the way. And that's where the next chapter begins. Everything in this universe moves, even the things that look still, even the walls around you, the ground beneath your feet, the chair you're sitting on. All of it vibrating quietly, constantly, invisibly, because nothing is truly still. Nothing is truly solid. Everything is energy, and energy always vibrates, you included. Your body is made of cells. Those cells are made of atoms, and atoms are mostly space, vibrating with life, movement, and frequency. You are not just physical. You are vibrational, and so is your mood, your attitude. Asterisk, your thoughts, your emotions. They all carry a frequency, and this is the core truth of the law of vibration. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. You attract what you're vibrating with. So if you're full of fear, you draw on more things that match that fear. If you're full of peace, you start to experience more situations that reflect peace. It's not punishment. It's not reward. It's resonance. It's like tuning forks. If two forks are made to vibrate at the same frequency, ain't you hit one, the other will start vibrating. Two even without touching it. That's vibration. That's how energy works in your life, your environment, your relationships. They are all echoing back to you the energy. You carry not the energy you fake, the energy you really carry. So when life feels chaotic or heavy or stuck, it's not always because of something outside of you. It's often a mirror, a reflection of something happening within. And that's hard to hear sometimes. Because it means you have to stop blaming the world. It means you have to stop pointing the finger, start looking inward. But here's the beautiful part. If you can shift your vibration, you can shift your life. That's power. That's the beginning of real change, not from force, not from fear, but from frequency. Because the law of vibration doesn't care about your words alone. It listens to your energy. You can say you're happy, but if your vibration is heavy, the universe responds to the heaviness. It's not the words. You can say you're ready for love, but if your vibration is still guarded, the universe picks up on the wall, not the hope. That's why vibration matters more than intention alone, because vibration is what you're being, not just what you're saying. And the good news is, vibration can be changed in small, gentle, honest ways. You don't need to fake joy. You don't need to pretend you're okay when you're not. You just need to become aware of your energy and begin to shift it one thought, one breath, one emotion at a time. So, how do you know what vibration you're sending out? Simple. Look at how you feel when no one's around. Look at what you think about when your mind goes quiet. That's your vibration, not the mask you wear in public, not the smile you force. When you're tired inside, your true vibration is what you carry in the silence. And it's okay if it's not where you want it to be yet. That's not failure. That's awareness. And awareness is the beginning of power. Because once you know your frequency, you can shift it gently, deliberately. One small change at a time. You don't need to jump from sadness. It's a joy in one leap. That's not real. That's not healing. What's real is this. If you're vibrating at grief, the next best step might be stillness. If you're vibrating at anger, maybe the next level is honesty. If you're vibrating at fear, maybe the next step is curiosity. Instead of panic, that's how you rise. Step by step, frequency by frequency. And each time you shift, even a little you begin to attract a new reality. Not instantly, not magically, but gradually. Through resonance, you see everything you want is already vibrating at a certain frequency. Joy, love, peace, abundance. They all exist. Right now, right here. But you can't experience them fully if you're vibrating in lack, in fear. In resentment, it's not that you're unworthy, it's just that you're not in sync, and vibration is all about syncing up with what you want. To feel not pretending to be happy, but choosing thoughts, habits, emotions that align with the life you say you want. So ask yourself gently, what do I feed my energy every day? What kind of people do I surround myself with? What kind of conversations do I engage in? What kind of thoughts do I allow to live rent-free in my head? Because all of that becomes your vibration, and your vibration becomes your life. And again, this is not blame, this is not shame, this is power. Because if you can become more aware of your vibration, you can begin to rise. You can begin to choose. You can begin to send a new signal to the universe. One that says, I'm ready, I'm rising, I'm becoming. And the universe will respond because it always does. You might not even realize it. But some of the things you do every day without thinking might be lowering your vibration. Not because you're weak, not because you're doing life wrong, but because, like most of us, you were taught to survive, not to align. You were taught to worry, to rush, to compare, to push through, and somewhere along the way, you forgot that peace is your natural state, not anxiety, not overthinking key, not fear. Peace is the original frequency, but over time, certain habits start to interfere with that peace, like the habit of negative self-talk, that voice in your head that says you're not enough, not smart enough, not beautiful enough, not doing enough. That voice doesn't come from your soul. It comes from fear. And fear has a low vibration. It weighs you down. Another habit is gossip. We don't talk about it much, but gossip carries. Heavy energy because every time you speak badly about someone behind their back, you send that energy out. And it sticks to you too. It's not about being perfect or never venting your feelings. It's about becoming more conscious, more intentional, and asking yourself, is this energy helping me rise or pulling me down? Another subtle habit that lowers vibration is comparison. Every time you scroll through someone else's life and tell yourself that you're behind, you're choosing lack. You're lowering your frequency because your energy shifts from appreciation to insecurity, from inspiration to judgment, and it creates separation inside you. But here's the truth. You can't vibrate high when you live in judgment of yourself or others, because judgment closes the heart, and a closed heart can't vibrate in love. So what do? You start to notice. You become the watcher of your own energy, not with shame, but with gentle awareness. You start asking, what lowers my vibration? Who drains me? Habits make me feel small. What emotions do I avoid instead of facing? And what would it feel like to release them? Not to escape, but to transform. Because your vibration doesn't rise by pretending problems don't exist. It rises when you move through them. With presence, it rises when you feel the emotion fully, without letting it define you. It rises when you stop clinging to stories that no longer serve your peace. And it rises when you choose love not once, but again and again, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Because love isn't just a feeling, it's a frequency, and it lives in the choices you make daily, raising your vibration. Doesn't have to be complicated. You don't need fancy routines. You don't need expensive tools. You just need presence. You just need intention. And you need to remember that your body, your breath, your thoughts, they all respond to the energy you choose to create. So where do you begin? You begin with breath. That's always the first step, because your breath is your anchor. It's the fastest way to change your state. When you're stressed, your breath becomes short and tight. When you're calm, it flows deep and steady. So take a moment now. Inhale slowly, exhale gently. Feel your body soften. Feel your energy shift. That's not small. That's vibration rising. Every breath is a signal. And the more you breathe with intention, the more grounded you become, the more calm you become. And calm is a high frequency. So start there. Start with 3 deep breaths before your day begins. Before you speak, before you react, before you rush into something without thinking. Then, pay attention to your words. Words carry energy. They shape your reality. They carry vibration. So ask yourself, are the words I use heavy or light? Do I speak to myself with love or with harshness? Do I speak to others from fear or from truth? Because every word you speak sends a vibration out into the world and back to you. Try starting your day with one sentence that raises your vibration. Something simple like, I am grounded. I am enough. I am open to peace today. Say it slowly. Say it gently. Say it like you believe it. And even if you don't believe it fully yet, say it anyway. Because repetition rewires your vibration. You're not lying to yourself. You're speaking to your potential. And over time, your energy will begin to rise to meet those words. Also look at your space, your environment, your surroundings affect your vibration. More than you think, clutter drains energy. Noise confuses the mind. Toxic environments shrink the soul. But when you take time to clean your space, light a candle, open a window, or sit in silence for a few moments, the energy shifts, and your body feels that shift. You feel clearer, more alive, more connected, because your vibration is not just emotional, it's physical. What you put around you influences what you carry within you. So be gentle with what you allow into your space. And don't forget your body. Your body is not just a vehicle, it's a vessel of energy. The food you eat, the movement you allow, the rest you give, all of it raises or lowers your frequency. You don't need perfection. You just need awareness, asterisk, and a willingness to treat your body like it matters, because it does. You matter. Your energy matters. Your vibration is not just about feeling good. It's about becoming aligned with who you are, with what you're here to do, with the life you're ready to create. Let's be honest. Not every day feels high-vibe. Not every moment feels full of light. Some days you wake up with a heavy heart. Some days fear creeps in. Some days you feel anxious, frustrated, tired. And that's okay. Raising your vibration doesn't mean you ignore your emotions. It doesn't mean you pretend to be happy when you're not. It means you allow. It means you become aware without judgment. Because emotions are energy too. They carry vibration, and they're not your enemy. Fear is not your enemy. Guilt is not your enemy. Sadness, doubt, anger, none of them are wrong. They're messengers. They're vibrations calling for your attention. And when you suppress them, you shove them down, deny them, ignore them. They don't go away. They get stuck. They sink deeper into your energy, and your vibration suffers. But when you allow yourself to feel them, not drown in them, just feel them, you begin to move energy again. You begin to clear space. You begin to rise. So when fear shows up, pause, breathe, say to yourself, this is fear. I feel it, but I am not it. When guilt appears, don't push it away. Sit with it. Ask, where is this coming from? What is it trying to teach me? When sadness visits, hold it gently. Let it speak. Let it move through you like a wave, not a prison. Because every emotion, when honored with love, will eventually pass. And in its passing, you're left with something lighter, something freer. That's how vibration works. It moves. It shifts. And the more honestly you feel your emotions, the more easily you return to your natural state. Your natural state is not sadness. It's not fear. It's not guilt. Those are passing clouds. Your natural state is peace. Your natural state is presence. Your natural state is love. And love is not just a romantic feeling. It's a vibration. It's a frequency. It's the energy of truth, of connection, of alignment. So when you allow yourself to process your pain, you're not falling behind. You're doing the work. You're clearing the path. You're raising your frequency the real way, not by forcing joy, but by making space for it. And the more space you make, the more the universe flows into that space. With clarity, with guidance, with signs, with grace. Your vibration is personal, but it's not private, because energy is contagious. It moves between people, quietly, invisibly, all the time. You can feel it. You walk into a room, you can sense when something feels off. Even if no one says a word, you speak to someone who's calm and grounded. And suddenly you feel more centered too. That's vibration in motion. That's energy transferring between people. And that's why your relationships matter more than you think. They're not just connections, they're energy exchanges. So ask yourself honestly, who raises my vibration? And who drains it? Who makes me feel seen, heard, safe? And who makes me feel small, tight, or disconnected? It's not about judging others. It's about protecting your peace. Because the truth is, not everyone can meet you where you are. Not everyone is meant to walk with you forever. And some people, even people you love, might carry energy that pulls you into lower vibration sphere, drama, guilt, confusion, and that's okay to notice. It's unkind. That's awareness. Because your energy is sacred, and the more you honor it, the more you begin to choose differently, not out of ego, out of alignment. You start choosing conversations that feel light, spaces that feel safe, connections that feel mutual, not one-sided. You start spending more time with people who speak from the heart, not from fear. People who allow you to be real. People who inspire you to rise. And when you can't change the people around you, because sometimes you can't, learn to protect your energy in quiet ways. You set boundaries. You ground yourself before you enter a space. You breathe deeply when tension shows up. You remind yourself, their energy is not mine. I can observe without absorbing. It's spiritual strength. That's energetic maturity. It's knowing when to walk away and when to stand still in your truth. Because not every battle needs your attention. Not every argument deserves your vibration. Some things are best left unreacted. It's not because you're passive, but because your peace is more valuable than proving a point. That's how you hold your vibration steady in a world full of noise. You stop giving it away so easily. You stop handing it over every time someone else is in chaos. And instead, you learn to return to yourself, to your breath, to your grounding, to your center. Because when your center is strong, the outside world doesn't shake you as easily. You respond instead of react. You listen instead of attack. You stay open. Without being exposed, that's the balance. To stay kind, to stay open, to stay connected, but never at the cost of your vibration. There's a quiet truth many people miss. You don't always need to fix your vibration sometimes. You just need to nurture it, because your energy is like a garden. It doesn't grow from control. It grows from care, from attention, from love. And some of the most powerful ways to raise your vibration are also the simplest. Like joy. Joy doesn't always come from big moments. It lives in small ones. Laughing with someone you trust, watching the sun rise without rushing, dancing to your favorite music. When no one's watching, joy is a vibration that softens your nervous system. It tells your body it's safe to feel good again. And every time you allow joy even just a little, you raise your frequency. You send a signal to the universe that says, I'm open to more of this. Then there's creativity, not for perfection, not for performance, just for expression, painting, writing, singing, building something with your hands, or even just daydreaming out loud. Because when you create, you release. You channel energy. You bring emotion into form and creation. Is one of the highest vibrations you can step into, because in that moment, you're not stuck in the past. You're not worried about the future. You're present, fully, and presence always lifts your energy. Then there's service, giving, helping, lifting someone else. Without needing anything back, that's not sacrifice. That's alignment. Because when you help someone from a full heart, not from guilt, not from obligation, but from love, your vibration rises naturally. You feel connected. You remember your impact. You remember that your presence matters. And when life feels heavy, when you're low on hope, sometimes the fastest way to raise your vibration is to help someone else rise too. But here's the key. Don't wait for joy. Don't wait for inspiration. Create it, even in the smallest ways, even if it's just lighting a candle, breathing deeply for one full minute, speaking one kind word to yourself or to someone else. Energy moves, even in silence, even in stillness, even in simplicity. You don't need to chase some perfect version of high vibration. You just need to come back to what makes you feel alive again and again until aliveness becomes your rhythm, your anchor, your home. Life doesn't always feel light. There are days when nothing goes as planned, moments when your heart breaks quietly or loudly, times when grief visits or anger rises or fear comes back in a way you thought you'd already healed. And in those moments, it's easy to forget your vibration. It's easy to feel like all your progress is gone, like you've slipped backward, like maybe you're not as strong as you thought. But here's what the Law of Vibration wants you to remember. You are never failing just because you feel low. Vibration isn't about staying high all the time. It's about returning to your center again and again. It's about learning to hold your energy steady even when life shakes you. And sometimes that means slowing down. Sometimes it means it's not responding right away. Sometimes it means letting the wave pass before you speak, before you decide, before you react. That's vibration mastery. It's not being perfect. It's being present. It's recognizing when you've slipped into fear and choosing to breathe. It's noticing when old patterns try to take over and gently guiding yourself back to peace. And yes, sometimes you'll get it wrong. Sometimes you'll fall into the emotion. Sometimes you'll spiral. Asterisk, you'll say the wrong thing. You'll act from your wounds instead of your wisdom. But even then, you're still growing. Even then, your awareness is rising. Because every time you become conscious of your energy, even after the moment has passed, you've already shifted. You've already started the return. So give yourself grace. You are not here to get it right every time. You are here to remember, to return, to realign, and that process is the practice. Over time, your recovery gets quicker, your awareness gets sharper, your reactions get softer, and you learn something powerful. You don't have to control every situation to stay aligned. You just have to choose yourself in small ways, in quiet moments. Even when no one else notices, that's how you protect your vibration. That's how you move with it. Through the mess, with love, with honesty, with patience for your own becoming, because you are not here to rise above life. You are here to walk through it, dash awake. And now, we return to stillness, Not the kind of stillness where nothing moves, but the stillness within where everything becomes clear again, because now you see it, now you feel it. Vibration isn't something outside of you. It's not some mystical force you have to chase. It's who you already are. Beneath the noise, it's the signal you send out without speaking. It's the feeling you carry when you walk into a room. It's the quiet hum of your thoughts, your emotions, your energy, all shaping what you experience. And when you really understand that, you stop waiting for life to change. You begin to change your energy, and life responds. You begin to ask better questions. You begin to notice how your body feels when you speak. Certain words, you begin to care about the music you listen to, the thoughts you think, the people you let close. Not from fear, from clarity, because when your vibration rises, clarity comes naturally. You no longer feel the need to convince anyone of your worth. You no longer chase people who drain your spirit. You no longer live on autopilot, reacting to every emotion or challenge that shows up. You pause, you breathe, you observe, and you choose. You choose what's in alignment with your energy. You choose to walk away from what dims your light. You choose to speak from love instead of fear. You choose to come back to yourself. Even if it takes time, that's the gift of this law. It reminds you that your power has never been out there. It's been inside you all along, quiet, steady, patient, waiting for you to remember. So here you are, remembering, and maybe you won't always feel high-vibe. Maybe some days will still feel heavy, but now, you know how to come back now. You know how to shift now. You know how to protect your peace and move with intention. And that knowing is everything. So breathe, reset, and carry this truth with you. Your energy is your power. Your vibration is your message. And your awareness is the beginning of transformation. The Law of Correspondence, Part 1, as within, so without. That's the quiet truth behind the Law of Correspondence. Whatever is happening inside of you, your thoughts,
your beliefs,
your emotions, shaping what happens outside of you, not always instantly, not always obviously, but consistently, constantly. Quietly, your outer world reflects your inner world. And when you begin to understand that, something changes. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you begin to ask, what is this showing me about me? That's the shift. That's when you stop being a passive observer of life, start becoming an active creator of it. But first, you have to be willing to look within, because it's easier to blame. It's easier to say, this job is stressful, instead of asking, why do I keep staying where I don't feel respected? It's easier to say no one understands me, instead of asking, have I been speaking from truth or from fear? It's easier to say, I attract the wrong people, instead of asking what parts of me still feel unworthy of healthy love. That's not blame, that's reflection, and reflection is power. Because when you take responsibility for your energy, your patterns, your choices, you start to unlock the door to change. And that's what the Law of Correspondence teaches us, that everything in your outer life is connected to something in your inner life. If your mind is chaotic, your schedule probably is too. If your heart feels closed, your relationships may feel distant. If your thoughts are filled with worry, your body may feel tense, tired, or heavy. It's all connected, as within, as without, as above. So below, the universe is not random. It is patterned, it is structured, it is intelligent, and your life, your relationships, your work, your health is part of that structure. You are not separate from it. You are a mirror, and the world around you is always reflecting back what you're ready to see. So, what are you seeing right now? What in your life feels out of balance? What within you might be reflecting that? This is where awareness begins. This is where transformation starts. Not by trying to control the outside, but by tuning into the inside. Not from guilt, not from shame, but from honesty. Because when you start to shift your inner world, your outer world starts to shift too. Not by force, but by reflection. The law of correspondence, your life is always speaking to you. Through people, through patterns, through situations that keep repeating themselves. And if you're willing to pause, to pay attention, you'll start to see it. You'll start to notice what your outer world is trying to show you about your inner state. Let's say you keep finding yourself in the same kind of relationship, different faces, same story. Maybe it always ends in rejection, or you always feel like you're not enough. That's not just. It's bad luck. It's a mirror. It's reflecting something back to you. Maybe an old belief that says, love must be earned. Maybe a fear of abandonment that still lives quietly in your nervous system. Maybe a pattern you picked up from childhood, thinking love always has to hurt a little. The law of correspondence says, go, then not to blame yourself, but to heal the belief that created the pattern. Because once you shift what's happening inside, the pattern no longer has to repeat. Or maybe your outer world is always rushed. Your days feel chaotic. You're overwhelmed, always chasing time. That might be more than a scheduling issue. It could be a reflection of your inner pressure, a belief that says, I'm only valuable when I'm busy. A story that says, if I slow down, I'll fall behind. But is that true? Or is it just familiar? Because sometimes chaos on the outside is a way of avoiding stillness on the inside. Stillness makes you feel, and feeling can be uncomfortable. But feeling is also where healing begins. So again, the law whispers, look within. Ask, what am I avoiding? What emotion have I buried? What story am I still carrying that no longer serves my peace? These are not easy questions, but they are liberating. Because when you start shifting your inner world, when you choose self-respect instead of self-abandonment, when you begin to believe you're worthy even without proving yourself, when you allow yourself to rest, to feel, to soften, your outer world begins to reflect that. People treat you differently. Doors open that once felt closed. Opportunities begin to align, not because of luck, but because your vibration changed. The mirror responded. That's the beauty of this. Law, it puts the power back in your hands, not to control the world, but to transform your experience of it. And you do that by transforming what lives inside you. Your thoughts, your beliefs, your emotions, your energy, all of it shapes your world. So when life feels off on the outside, pause and ask, what inside me is ready to be seen? What inside me is calling for love? What part of me is asking to be heard, not ignored? That's the beginning of true alignment, not fixing the mirror, but changing the reflection by healing the source, and you are the source. Sometimes it's not the situation that needs to change, it's your perspective. It's the meaning you give to what's happening. That's what the law of correspondence is really about learning. It's respond to life from the inside out. Because when something outside of you triggers a strong emotional reaction, it's not random. It's revealing something. It's showing you where a wound still lives, where a belief still controls you, where a pattern still holds its power over you. But most people react instead of reflect. Something uncomfortable happens, and we blame, we shut down, we get angry, defensive, hurt. But if you pause for just a moment, if you take one breath before responding, you open the door to a new kind of clarity. You begin to ask better questions. Not why are they like this, but what are they showing me about myself? Not why is this happening again, but what part of me is still asking to be healed? And sometimes, the mirror shows you things you don't want to see. The fear you've been hiding, the resentment you haven't released, the way you silence your voice to stay accepted. And it's okay to feel uncomfortable when the truth shows. Up. It means you're waking up. It means the pattern is rising to the surface so it can finally be released. You don't need to analyze everything. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be honest. Honest enough to say, yes, this bothers me. So what does that say about what I believe? Yes, this keeps happening. So what energy am I still holding? That's how change begins. Not by forcing the outside to shift, but by transforming the vibration within you that attracted the pattern in the first place. And sometimes the shift is subtle. Sometimes you don't even need to do anything. Just the awareness alone is enough. Because once you see the pattern for what it is, it loses power. You start responding differently. You stop playing the same role. You set a boundary you never set before. You speak a truth you used to swallow. And suddenly, the outer world shifts. The situation changes. Or maybe it doesn't, but you do. And that alone is everything, because peace doesn't come from controlling everything outside of you. Peace comes from understanding what the outside is reflecting back and choosing to rise within. That's what the Law of Correspondence gives you. Not control, but clarity. Not avoidance, but truth. And the truth is, your life is a mirror. It's showing you who you're being. It's showing you what you believe. It's showing you where you're ready to evolve. All you have to do is look, not with judgment, but with compassion, with curiosity, with love. You don't have to wait for life to change. You don't have to wait for someone else to treat you differently. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment or perfect conditions, because the power to shift your life is already inside you. It begins the moment you decide to shift your inner world, because when your inner world changes, your outer world follows, not through magic, but through vibration, through alignment, through resonance. So, how do you begin? How do you actually shift what's inside? Start small. Start with intention. Every morning, ask yourself one quiet question. What kind of energy do I want to carry today? Not, what do I need to fix? Not, how do I survive this day? What vibration do I want to live in no matter what happens? Is it peace? Then speak gently to yourself. Is it clarity? Then move slowly, listen more, and rush less. Is it strength? Then remind yourself that you've survived before and you will again. Your inner world is shaped by what you focus on, so choose your focus with care, because your focus becomes your feeling, and your feeling becomes your energy, and your energy becomes your experience. Now take a look at your space. Your environment matters more than you think. It's not about perfection. It's about energy. What energy lives in your home? What lives on your walls? In your music? In the conversations that happen in your space? Because all of it is speaking to your nervous system. And your nervous system is shaping your inner world. So clean what needs to be cleaned. Light what needs to be lit. Play the music that reminds you of who you are. You're not just decorating, you're designing. Your vibration, and then there's your language. The words you use when you speak to others. The words you use when you speak to yourself. They carry energy. They shape identity. They build belief. So listen to how you talk about your life. Is it heavy? Is it rushed? Is it always about lack? Or is it rooted in gratitude, in truth, in openness? You don't have to lie to yourself. You just have to stop speaking. It's defeat over your future. You don't have to fake happiness. You just have to stop repeating stories that no longer match the person. You're becoming because your inner world listens to your voice. And the more loving, honest, and clear that voice becomes, the more peace grows inside. And that peace, it starts showing up on the outside. It's too in your relationships, in your decisions, in the way life responds to you. Not because life suddenly became easier, but because you became aligned. And alignment is everything. Sometimes you do the work. You meditate. You heal. You forgive. You speak truth. You shift your mindset. You begin to align your inner world with love. Peace, strength, but outside, nothing seems to change. The same people test your patience. The same problems show up again. The same silence echoes back after all your effort. And in that space, between your inner growth and the outer reflection, it's easy to doubt yourself. It's easy to think, what's the point? But this is where real alignment begins. Because the law of correspondence doesn't always reflect back instantly. Sometimes the mirror takes time to catch up. Sometimes the vibration you're sending now is planting seeds for a future that hasn't bloomed yet, and you don't see roots growing. You don't see transformation happening underground, but it's there, silently, steadily, because every inner shift does echo outward. Every time you choose peace instead of chaos. Every time you set a boundary instead of people-pleasing. Every time you listen to your truth, even when it's inconvenient, you change the frequency of your life. And frequency tracks form. Not always in the way you expect. Not always on your timeline, but always in alignment with your energy. So the real question is, can you hold your frequency? Even when the world hasn't responded yet, can you stay grounded in who you're becoming? Even when it feels like nothing's changing? Can you trust that the outer world is rearranging itself? Even when the evidence is invisible? 'Cause it is. That's what energy does. It builds quietly. And then, one day, you look around and realize the people around you feel safer. The decisions come easier. The path looks clearer. The weight you used to carry isn't there. It's more. Not because something happened to you, but because something awakened within you. So, don't give up just because you can't see the reflection yet. Keep showing up. Keep doing the inner work. Keep aligning your words, your energy, your actions with the life you want to live. Because the mirror will catch up, and when it does, it won't be a surprise. It'll feel like coming home. You are not separate from your life. You are not standing outside of your story, watching it unfold. You are inside it, shaping it, speaking it into form. And that means you are not powerless. You are not stuck. You are not waiting for permission to rise, because the mirror of life reflects what you believe, what you feel, what you hold inside. So if you want more peace, start living in a way that reflects peace. If you want more love, start giving it freely, openly, without the fear of not getting it back. If you want more clarity, stop filling every quiet moment with noise. The outer world is your feedback. It's not your punishment. It's not your destiny. It's a reflection that asks, what are you carrying? What do you need to release? What are you ready to become? When you start showing up differently, thinking differently, responding differently, choosing differently, the reflection begins to shift. People who once triggered you lose their grip. Environments that used to feel loud and heavy start to feel neutral. The drama you once reacted to no longer gets a rise out of you because you've changed. Because the mirror didn't change. First you did, and that's the secret. We keep waiting for the outside to give us what we haven't given ourselves. Respect, peace, safety, love. But the Law of Correspondence says, give it to yourself first, and life will echo it back. Sometimes through people, sometimes through silence, sometimes through new opportunities, new paths, new feelings you didn't even expect. But it all begins within. So live like the mirror is listening because it is. Live as if your thoughts matter because they do. Live as if your energy is your message because it's already speaking even. When your mouth is closed, you are the reflection. You are the vibration. You are the cause behind the effect. So don't wait. Start now. Start small. Start gently and trust that when your inner world becomes your priority, your outer world starts. Becoming your mirror, what you focus on expands. What you give energy to grows. What you believe begins to form around you. This is the law of attraction. It's not magic. It's not wishful thinking. It's not about sitting still and hoping the universe drops your dreams in your lap. It's about vibration. It's about alignment. It's about becoming the kind of person who matches what you say you want. Because here's the truth. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. You attract what you believe. You attract what you're in resonance with, whether you're conscious of it or not. That's why this law is so powerful. And also why it's so misunderstood. It's not about repeating affirmations and hoping everything changes. It's about checking your inner world, your thoughts, your emotions, your self-talk, your expectations. Because if you say you want love, but deep down you believe you're not worthy of it, if you say you want peace, but you keep choosing chaos, because it feels familiar, if you say you want abundance, but your thoughts are rooted in lack, then the universe responds. Not to your words, but to your energy. Because energy doesn't lie. That's why the law of attraction isn't just about thinking positive. It's about being aligned. It's about tuning your frequency to match the experience you want to live. And that tuning, it begins with awareness. With asking, what do I really believe about this dream? What energy am I carrying in my body each day? What are my thoughts feeding me fear or possibility? Because your life responds to those signals. You are always attracting something, not as a reward, not as a punishment, but as a reflection. And the most powerful shift you can make is becoming intentional with what you're reflecting. Not just when things are going well, but especially when they're not. So let's go deeper. Because thoughts alone don't create your reality. It's not enough to just want something. It's not enough. Say it out loud or write it in a notebook. That's the beginning. But it's not the whole story. The law of attraction responds to your beliefs and your beliefs. Shape your expectations and your expectations. Guide your emotions and your emotions. Create your vibration, and that vibration is what the universe responds to. So yes, affirmations are helpful. Yes, vision boards, powerful. But only if you believe the vision is possible for you. Only if your energy doesn't cancel your words, you can say, I am worthy of love. But if your heart still whispers, I always get hurt, that whisper is what the universe hears. You can say, I attract abundance. But if your energy says, I'll never have enough, then that belief keeps drawing in lack, so don't. Just say what you want. Ask yourself, do I actually believe this is possible for me? Do I feel safe having what I want? Or am I afraid of it deep down? Am I expecting good things to come, more quietly waiting for something to go wrong? That's where the real work begins, because attraction starts in the subconscious, and the subconscious is shaped by emotion, not just words. So if you want to shift what you're attracting, you have to shift how you feel, and that doesn't mean forcing happiness. It means choosing emotions that align with your intention. If you want peace, ask yourself, what would peace feel like in my body today? Then do something small to feel it. If you want love, ask yourself, how can I treat myself with more love right now? Then follow through with one simple act of self-kindness. If you want success, ask yourself, what's one decision I can make today that supports the version of me who already has it? That's alignment. That's attraction. Not just sitting and waiting, but becoming the match for the life you want from the inside out. Because energy doesn't lie, and when your thoughts, your beliefs, and your feelings all align, the universe listens, and the mirror begins to shift. Sometimes it's not about asking for more. It's about letting go of what's in the way, because you can want something deeply and still block it energetically, not because you're doing anything wrong, but because you're holding on too tightly to fear, to control, to timelines, to doubt, to the belief that if I don't get this, I'll never be okay. And that pressure, that gripping energy, creates resistance. It pushes the very thing you want farther away, because the vibration of desperation is different from its vibration of trust, and the universe doesn't respond to your words. Responds to your energy, you can say, I want love. But if your energy says, I don't trust anyone, the signal is scrambled. You can say, I want success. But if your vibration is filled with fear of failure, self-judgment, and impatience, it's not an open field for receiving. That's resistance. And we all carry it sometimes. So how do you release it? How do you open again? You begin by softening. You stop forcing. You stop demanding that your life looks a certain way. It's on a certain timeline. It's with a certain outcome. And you come back to trust. You come back to faith, not blind hope, but the quiet. Knowing that if you align your energy, if you live from love instead of fear, if you believe in your own worth, the universe will respond. Not always how you imagined. Not always when you expected. But always in a way that serves your highest path. That's the deeper work of attraction. Not just asking, but allowing. Letting the energy come to you not because you chased it, but because you matched it, because you stopped vibrating with doubt, because you stopped clinging to fear, because you stopped trying to control everything and instead said, I trust, I align, I receive. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. That's surrender. And surrender is not giving up. It's giving space. It's saying to the universe, I've done the inner work. Now I release the outcome. Release. That's where attraction flows. What if the key to receiving was feeling like you already have it, not faking, not forcing, but truly stepping into the energy of it's already mine? Because the law of attraction doesn't respond to your future wishes. It responds to your current frequency. It responds to who you are being right now. And the truth is, you don't attract what you're waiting for. You attract what you already embody. So the question becomes, what does the version of you who already has the life you want think like, speak like, walk like, breathe like? How do they handle discomfort? What do they believe is possible? What kind of people do they allow into their life? What kind of boundaries do they hold? What kind of peace do they protect? Because attraction begins the moment you stop chasing the version of you who has everything and start living like that version now. Even if you're not there yet, even if it's only in small ways, even if it starts with just one quiet decision. It's like waking up and saying, today I carry peace. Today I lead with love. Today I act like the future I want is already mine. I'm from that energy. You move. You stop proving. You stop doubting. You stop asking. If you're enough, you already are. And the moment you begin to feel that, even for a second, you create a magnetic field around you, one that pulls in people, ideas, opportunities, and experiences that match your energy. Because that's how attraction works, not through effort alone, but through embodiment. Not from trying to look like you've arrived, but from believing you're already becoming. And when your energy is aligned with having not needing what you desire, it flows faster because you're not chasing it. You're meeting it. You're living in the vibration of already belong here, and that frequency opens doors no effort can force. You can ask for everything. Love, abundance, peace, freedom, success. But if deep down you don't believe you deserve it, you'll block it. You'll push it away. You'll doubt it when it comes. You'll sabotage it without meaning to. Because the law of attraction doesn't just respond to what you want. It responds to what you believe you're worthy of. And that's where many people get stuck. They visualize. They affirm. They say all the right things, but inside, there's still a quiet voice whispering, not me, not yet, not enough. That voice carries vibration, and the universe hears it, not as punishment, but as instruction. Because if your energy says, I don't believe I'm ready, life reflects that belief. So how do you shift it? How do you grow into receiving? Without fear, guilt, or doubt. You begin with self-worth, not surface-level confidence, not pretending, but a real, quiet knowing that you are enough right now, before the money, before the title, before the relationship, before the healing is finished. You're already worthy of good things, already worthy of being seen, already worthy of being supported, celebrated, loved. You don't have to earn it. You have to remember it, because the things you're trying to attract are not a reward for perfection. They're a reflection of your vibration. And when your vibration is rooted in self-worth, you stop begging. You stop chasing. You stop accepting things that don't match your value. You stop settling for less than your soul knows you deserve. And in that energy, attraction becomes effortless because you're no longer asking from emptiness. You're asking from wholeness. And wholeness is magnetic. Sometimes the thing you've asked for doesn't arrive right away, and it's not because the universe isn't listening. It's because the timing isn't ready, or you aren't ready. Not in a way that means you're failing, but in a way that means something deeper is still aligning, because the law of attraction, it's not a vending machine. It's not about instant results. It's about energy. And sometimes the energy needs space to shift, to settle, to strengthen. And that's where most people lose faith. They ask. They align. But when nothing happens on the surface, they fall into doubt. They shrink back into fear. They begin to question everything. But the truth is, energy takes time to ripple. Frequency takes time to gather form. Vibration takes time to build momentum. And just because you can't see it doesn't mean it's not happening. So here's the quiet wisdom of this law. Learn to let go, not as surrender to loss, but as trust in alignment. Let go of the outcome. Let go of the timeline. Let go of the need to control how it shows up, and instead, live like it's already on its way. Live like it's already forming behind the scenes. Live like your only job is to stay aligned right here, right now, with the version of you who's ready to receive, because the moment you stop needing it to happen is often the moment the energy clears. And when the energy clears, it flows naturally, effortlessly, exactly when it's meant to. So, be patient. Not because you're waiting, but because you're becoming. The law of attraction is not about forcing the universe to move. It's about moving yourself into harmony with the universe. And when you live from that place, life begins to meet you, not with force, but with flow. There's a moment. After the vision is clear, after you've asked, after you've aligned your thoughts, focused your energy, felt the vibration of what you want. And in that moment, the universe begins to whisper, not in words, but in nudges, in ideas, in feelings that say, do this. Call them, write it down, take the next step. That whisper, that quiet pull, that is inspired action. Because manifestation isn't just about believing, it's about becoming. And becoming requires movement, not hustle, not struggle, not force, but movement that feels aligned. Action that comes from your soul, not your ego. Action that rises from a calm, intuitive place. And you'll know it when you feel it. It doesn't feel. It's heavy. It doesn't feel like proving. It doesn't feel like pushing. It feels natural, clear. Sometimes scary, but also exciting, like your next step is already waiting for you. That's the law of inspired action, it says. You're co-creating with the universe, not sitting back and hoping, not waiting passively, but moving in faith. You take a step. The universe responds. You take another step. The path begins to open. Not always in straight lines, not always with guarantees, but with momentum. And momentum is powerful, because when you move with intention, you activate a new frequency. You tell life, I'm ready, I believe, I trust. And life begins to meet you halfway. Not all action is the same. Some action comes from fear. It feels rushed, tight, desperate. You do it because you feel like you have to, because if you don't, something will fall apart, because you're trying to prove something or fix something. That kind of action drains you. It burns your energy. It often leads to resistance, confusion, and burnout. But inspired action feels different. It doesn't scream. It whispers. It doesn't force. It invites. It doesn't say, "You better do this or else." It says, "What if you tried this?" It comes in stillness. It rises during a walk, a quiet moment, or when you're doing something simple. Like washing the dishes, it feels light. It feels honest. It might be uncomfortable. But not because it's wrong. It's uncomfortable because it's stretching you, because it's pulling you toward growth, toward something bigger than your current comfort zone. That's how you know. Inspired action moves you forward. But it also feels grounded. You're not acting from lack. You're acting from clarity, from peace, from trust. And sometimes inspired action is small. It's not always quitting your job. It's not always launching a business. Sometimes it's writing one email, making one phone call, turning off your phone and sitting with your thoughts, opening your notebook and letting something pour out. It might seem tiny, but it carries power because that's small. Honest step shifts your vibration. And when your vibration shifts, the world responds. So don't ignore the nudge. Don't wait for perfect timing. Don't assume the action. It's to be big to matter. If it came from stillness, if it came from peace, if it feels like something real inside you is saying yes, then take it. That's inspired action. That's alignment in motion. Sometimes the first step won't make sense. It won't come with a plan. It won't give you a guarantee. It won't show you exactly where you're going. And that's where most people stop. They wait for clarity. They wait for confidence. They wait for the full picture to appear before they move. But the law of inspired action doesn't work like that. It whispers, "Start here. Trust this. Take just one small step, and that step." It's not the whole path. It's the activation. It's what signals the universe that you're ready. It's what tells life you believe, that you're willing to move even before everything is clear. And that movement changes your frequency. Because energy in motion creates momentum, and momentum reveals things you can't see from stillness. The right people, the next ideas, the synchronicities, the guidance that only shows up once you're already walking. That's the dance. You move in faith. And the universe responds in form. So don't wait for everything to feel certain. Don't wait for the fear to disappear. Don't wait for the full staircase to appear. Start with the one step you can see. Start where your intuition is nudging you. Start with the small yes that keeps returning in your heart, even if it feels risky, even if it feels new, even if no one else understands it yet, because that first step is the doorway, and once you move through it, things begin to unfold. Not always quickly, not always how you expected, but always in alignment with your energy. Because the law of inspired action doesn't ask for perfection. It asks for willingness. Willingness to listen. Willingness to trust. Willingness to move not from pressure, but from purpose. And when you move like that, even the smallest action becomes powerful. Inspiration doesn't always shout. It whispers. It arrives in quiet spaces. In the in-between moments when you're not forcing, not chasing, it's not overthinking, it comes when your mind slows down and your heart opens up. That's why stillness matters. That's why silence is sacred. Because when your life is full of noise, you can't hear the signal. You can't feel the nudge. You can't receive the gentle yes that comes when your spirit is ready. So if you want more inspired action, you don't need more effort. You need more space. Not hours of meditation. Just moments of presence. Moments where you step away from the scroll. Moments where you sit with yourself. Moments where you ask softly, what's mine to do today? One small thing that feels light, honest, aligned. Then you listen, not with your mind, but with your energy. Because inspired action doesn't always feel logical, it feels true. And truth is subtle. It's not loud, it's steady. And when you get used to listening for it, you don't have to push so hard anymore. You don't have to force motivation. You don't have to constantly guess. You begin to receive. And when the moment comes to actal, no, you'll feel it in your body. You'll feel it in your breath. You'll feel it like a green light. Inside, even if it's scary, even if it stretches you, it will still feel like it's truth. And truth is always safe to follow, even when the path is unclear, even when the outcome is uncertain. Because when you follow inspired action, you're no longer moving alone, you're moving with life, and life moves with you. In the end, it's not about doing more, it's about moving with meaning. It's not about pushing, it's about flowing from alignment. Because real action doesn't come from pressure, it comes from presence. And presence opens the door to something deeper, to courage, not the loud kind, not the kind that fights or shouts, but the quiet kind, the kind that says, I trust this feeling. I don't need to see the whole plan to begin. I'll follow what feels real, even if it scares me. That's courage. That's what inspired action asks of you. Not perfection, not performance, just presence. And willingness. The willingness to move from love instead of fear. The willingness to take small steps. Even when you're unsure, the willingness to let your soul lead instead of your fear. Because when you move like that, you're not chasing life. You're dancing with it. You're creating with it. You're stepping into a version of yourself that doesn't wait. For certainty, you act in faith. You move with purpose. And little by little, movement becomes a rhythm, a flow, a path. And one day you'll look back at the risks you took, at the tiny steps no one saw, at the quiet yeses you whispered to yourself. And you'll realize that was the moment everything changed. Not because you forced it, but because you followed it. You followed what felt right. You followed the whisper. You followed the truth, and the universe followed you. The law of perpetual transmutation of energy everything. Is energy, and energy never dies. It doesn't disappear. It doesn't vanish. It only moves. Only changes, it transforms. That's what this law teaches. Energy is always shifting, always evolving, always flowing from one form to another, and you are not separate from that. You are energy too, which means your thoughts, your words, your emotions. They all carry power, and more importantly, they can be changed. Fear can become strength. Anger can become clarity. Sadness can become healing. Pain can become power. Not overnight, not without awareness, but through choice, through presence, through intention. Because energy is never stuck. Only our beliefs about it are. And the moment you believe something can shift, it begins to shift. That's the gift of this law. It reminds you. Nothing is fixed. You are not locked into your past. You are not defined by who you were last year, last week, or even yesterday. Because every emotion, every pattern, every thought you carry is energy, and energy can move. Energy wants to move. So the question is not, will things change? They already are. The real question is, will you choose to direct the energy? Will you shape it? Will you lift it? Will you take what feels heavy and slowly turn it into light? You can, and it starts with one simple truth. You are more powerful than you've been taught, because inside you is the ability to transform not just your mindset, but your energy. And when your energy changes, so does everything else. There will be days when everything feels heavy, when your thoughts are clouded, when your heart feels tired, when you wonder if the light will ever return. And in those moments, you might feel powerless, like the emotion is too big, like the sadness is too deep, like the fear is too loud. But remember this: energy wants to move. It is not here to stay stuck. It's here to pass through you, to move with you, to be transformed by you, because you are not just the one who feels. You are the one who can shift. So if the emotion is heavy, don't fight it. Feel it. But don't feed it. Don't become it. Let it rise. Let it speak. Let it show you what it needs. And then breathe, because your breath is energy too, and every slow, conscious breath changes your state. It softens your body. It grounds your nervous system. It opens a new space within you. From that space, you choose. You choose the next thought. Choose the next word. You choose the next moment. And even if that choice is small, it carries power. It carries transformation. Because that one breath, that one shift in thought, that one gentle decision to say, I'm not staying in this vibration. It's the moment the energy begins to rise. That's the moment fear starts to lose its grip. That's the moment sadness starts to lift. Not because it's forced, but because it's allowed to move. You're not trying to escape it. You're allowing it to pass through, and when it passes through, it becomes something else. It becomes insight. It becomes growth. It becomes peace. That's the transmutation, and it happens in the small moments. So don't underestimate the power of a single breath, a single shift in focus, a single act of self-compassion, because that's where transformation begins. Your energy doesn't just live in your thoughts. It lives in your body, in your space, in your breath, in your habits. In your words, that's why shifting energy isn't just about mindset. It's about movement. Because sometimes the emotion you're carrying can't be solved in your mind. It needs to be felt in your body. It needs to be moved through your breath, stretched through your muscles, exhaled through sound, released through tears. That's transmutation. When you take something heavy and let it move. When you stop holding it in and let it come out through a walk, through a dance, through a deep breath with your eyes closed, through saying out loud what you've been holding in silence. And then there's your space, because your environment carries vibration to what's around you, affects what's within you. So look around. What are you surrounding yourself with? What lives in your room, on your walls, in your music, in your daily conversations? Do they lift you? Or do they hold you in an old version of yourself? You don't need a perfect space. You just need a supportive one. A space that breathes peace. A space that allows you to expand, to be still, to be honest, to grow. And then there's your words. Your language is a tool for transformation. Speak gently. Speak truthfully. Speak in a way that reflects who you want to become, not who you're afraid you are, because words hold vibration, and when you change the words you speak to yourself, you change the energy you live in. So if you want to shift your life, shift your space, shift your breath, shift your body, shift your language. These are the tools you already carry, and when you use them, you rise. Not all at once, but steadily, honestly, powerfully. Because everything in your world is energy, and every part of your world can be changed. Pain is not the enemy. It's a messenger. It's a signpost, it says. Something needs to change. Something wants to heal. Something deeper is asking to be seen. Though pain feels sharp, even though it can knock the breath out of you, it's also energy raw, heavy, unprocessed, powerful. And if you allow it, if you sit with it, if you meet it with compassion instead of resistance, you begin to change it. That is transmutation, not escaping pain, but evolving through it. Because inside every heartbreak is the seed of deeper love. Inside every failure is the seed of future. Wisdom, inside every breakdown, is the beginning of clarity. Not because pain is noble, not because suffering makes you stronger, but because pain awakens what was buried. And when you face it, when you hold space for it, you start to notice. The tears soften something. The stillness reveals something. The reflection teaches something. And little by little, heaviness becomes a lesson. That grief becomes a doorway. That anger becomes fire, not to destroy, but to create. You've felt it before, the way you rise after falling, the way you grow after losing, the way you speak with more. Truth after breaking open, that's not coincidence. That's alchemy. That's transmutation. You took what could have ended you and used it to rebuild yourself. And that's not weakness. That's strength. The quiet kind. The steady kind. The kind that knows no matter how hard it gets. Energy is never wasted. It just needs a place to move. A place to shift. A place to be. Seen, loved, and transformed. And when you give it that, even your darkest moments become light. You are not stuck. Even if it feels like nothing is changing. Even if the weight hasn't lifted yet. Even if your path feels unclear. You are not stuck, because energy is always moving. And you are energy. You are not broken. You are becoming. You are not behind. You are unfolding. And every breath you take is proof that something inside you is still choosing life, still choosing hope, still choosing to rise. So pause, breathe, and feel what's real for you in this moment. Even if it's heavy, even if it's uncertain, even if it's quiet, because that feeling can be moved. That fear can soften. That sadness can lift. That doubt can turn into trust, not all at once, not with force, but slowly, gently, honestly. Because energy doesn't need to be fixed. It just needs to be felt. It needs permission to move, to rise, to transform. And when you give yourself that permission without shame, without pressure, something inside begins to shift. A little more light, a little more breath, a little more space between the thoughts. That's transmutation. Not because life suddenly got easier, but because you remembered your power. You remembered that nothing lasts forever. Not the pain, not the fear, not the confusion. Everything is energy, and energy is always changing. So don't give up. Don't numb out. Don't shrink back from your own. It's becoming. You are not stuck. You are moving. You are rising. You are transforming. One breath at a time. The law of cause and effect. Nothing in life happens by chance. Everything, as a cause, every action creates an effect. Every word you speak, every thought you think, every choice you make, no matter how small, sends out a ripple. And those ripples, they return. That's the law of cause and effect. It's not personal. It's not emotional. It's simply how energy moves. Cause. An effect. Plant a seed. Something grows. Speak with kindness. A connection builds. Act from fear. Act from fear follows. Take action from faith. Peace begins to rise. It's not magic. It's momentum. It's the reality that what you put out into the world comes back. Not always right away. Not always in the way you expect, but always. Because energy can't help but return to its source, and you are the source. So, if your life doesn't look how you want it to, don't blame it. Don't fear it. Look deeper. Ask yourself, what am I putting out? What am I energizing with my focus, my words, my habits? Because the life you're living now is the effect of past causes, and the life you're moving into will be shaped by what you choose today. This law isn't meant to scare you. It's meant to empower you. Because if your life is the result of energy you once put out, that means you can change it. You can redirect it. You can create something new. Not by wishing, but by choosing, consciously, consistently, lovingly. Because every moment is a cause. Asterisk, and every cause creates a path. The question is, what kind of path are you building? It's easy to look at the big things, the job, the relationship, the goal, the failure. But most of the causes that shape your life aren't dramatic. They're quiet. They live in your routines, in how you talk to yourself when no one's around, in the choices you repeat without thinking, and the way you show up when things get hard. Because energy isn't only shaped in the big moments, it's shaped in the daily ones. The way you start your morning, the thoughts you feed when you're tired, the stories you tell yourself when you're unsure. Those are causes, and over time, they become effects. A tired mind becomes a stressed body. A repeated excuse becomes a missed opportunity. A silent belief of "I'm not enough" becomes a life built on settling. But here's the beauty of this law. You can interrupt the pattern. You can rewrite the cause. You can shift the energy right. Now, you don't need to wait for a perfect moment. You just need to become aware. Aware of the choices you've been making on autopilot. Aware of the tone you use when you talk to yourself. Aware of the things you keep doing, even when they don't feel aligned anymore. Because once you're aware, you're no longer just reacting. You're creating, and creation is power. You can pause before that angry reply. You can breathe before that anxious decision. You can choose kindness over defensiveness, stillness over panic, faith over fear, and each time you do. You plant a new cause, one that leads to a new effect, one that aligns with the life you truly want, not the one you've inherited, not the one you've settled for, but the one you're now choosing at some point. You stop asking, why is this happening to me? And you start asking, what energy did I put into the world that might have brought this back? It's not blame, that's not guilt, that's ownership. Because when you take responsibility for your life, you take your power back. You stop waiting for someone else to fix it. You stop expecting life to hand you what you're not willing to build. You stop pointing fingers and start looking inward. That's not always easy, but it's honest, it's healing, it's real, because the truth is, you are the common thread in every part of your life. And when you see that with love not shame, everything begins to change. You begin to understand that your thoughts matter, that your words carry weight, that your reactions aren't just in motion, and that energy has a ripple. It moves into your conversations, into your decisions, into your outcomes. So, if you want something to change, you don't have to wait. You don't need permission. You don't need to start perfect. You just need to start honest. Ask yourself, what have I been choosing? What have I been allowing? What energy have I been repeating? If it's not serving me anymore, and when you see it, you can shift it, because you're not a victim of your life. You are a creator of it. One thought, one decision, one new choice at a time. That's how new causes are planted, and that's how new effects are born. Every cause creates an effect, but not every effect is instant. Some take time, some take layers. Some take faith to keep going, even when nothing seems to change. That's where most people stop. They say, I've been trying. I've been doing the work. I've changed my habits. I've shifted my energy. Still, nothing. Still the same results, still the same struggles, still the same silence. And so, they give up. Not because they were wrong, not because they were weak, but because they didn't see the ripple. Not yet. Because sometimes the ripple takes time to return. Sometimes the seeds you plant grow underground for a while. You don't see them sprouting, but they are, silently, powerfully, faithfully, because energy is always moving, and every act of love, every step in alignment, every decision made from peace instead of fear. A cause, and those causes add up. They build momentum. They create pressure beneath the surface until one day, something cracks open, something blooms, something shifts, and suddenly the things you've been waiting for start to arrive. Not by chance, but by accumulation, because the energy you put out always comes back. So be patient, not passive, but patient. Keep moving. Keep aligning. Keep creating small, honest causes that match the life you want, because your consistency is the quiet proof that you believe, and belief is magnetic. The effects will come, sometimes slowly, sometimes all at once, but they will come, because energy is loyal to its source, and you are the source. Every word you speak, every emotion you hold, every choice you make is a cause, and your life is the effect, not as punishment, not as reward, but as reflection, because life doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to what you're being. It reflects your energy, your frequency, your momentum. So if you want peace, be the cause of peace. Speak it. Live it. Protect it. If you want love, be the cause of love. Give it. Show it. Hold space for it. If you want abundance, be the cause of abundance. Celebrate what you have. Share without fear. Trust that more is coming. This law is not about control. It's about consciousness. It's about understanding that you're not waiting for life to give you something. You're shaping life moment by moment through what you give to it. So give with truth. Give with presence. Give with clarity. Let your choices align with your soul. Let your actions reflect your vision. Let your energy say, I know who I am. I know what I'm creating. I know the ripple I'm here to send. Because everything begins with you, and everything returns to you. That is the law of cause and effect, and that is your power. Life keeps the books, even when it looks unfair. Even when your kindness goes unnoticed. Even when your effort brings no applause, life remembers. Because the universe is not blind. It sees every seed you plant, every hour you invest, every bit of love you give even when no one's watching. And that's what this law teaches. What you give comes back. Not always from the same place, not always from the same people, but always in some form, that is. Compensation, it's the quiet return of energy, the echo of what you've sown, the invisible. Reward that life sends back, sometimes through money, sometimes through opportunity, sometimes through peace, connection, healing, or growth. But it always comes, because no good effort is wasted, no act of love disappears, no moment of truth gets lost in the noise. It's all kept, counted, balanced, not by human rules, but by energetic law. So if you feel unseen, if your work is silent, if your giving feels one-sided, don't stop. Don't close your heart. Don't give up on the energy you've poured into the end. World, because it's coming back. Your compensation is on its way. And when it arrives, it will make sense. It will be aligned. It will feel like the universe saying, I saw you. I remember. Here's your return. The universe doesn't pay you for what you want. It pays you for what you give. It compensates you based on your contribution, your presence, your value, your heart, not in the way society measures worth, but in the way energy measures alignment. Because every time you show up fully, honestly, generously, you build a current, and that current begins to move through people, through ideas, through timing, and one day finds its way back to you. Not because you demanded it, but because you deserved it. Because you became someone who adds value, someone who shows up with intention, someone who puts something better into the world than they found. That's not about its perfection. It's about integrity. It's about effort. It's about waking up each day and asking, how can I serve today? What can I give that's real? How can I make this space better just by being in it? And when you live like that, compensation follows, sometimes slowly, sometimes in ways you didn't expect, sometimes disguised as something ordinary, but it comes. It always comes. Because energy never forgets value. And the more value you give, the more life begins to reflect that value back to you. Not just in wealth, but in peace, in opportunity, in support, in joy, because true wealth is not just what you have. Asterisk, it's who you become, and who you become shapes what life gives you in return. Some rewards take time, longer than you hoped, longer than you planned, longer than your faith. Sometimes feels strong enough to hold, but that doesn't mean they're not coming, because the energy you give is never lost, even when it seems like no one notices, even when the world moves on without a thank you, even when you wonder if it was worth it. The truth is, you don't always get compensated in the same season you sowed. You don't always see the return right away, because life moves on its own timeline. A timeline built on alignment, not urgency. And sometimes the seed you planted last year only blossoms when you've become the version of you that's ready to receive it. That's why patience matters. That's why trust matters. Because the law is still working.
Ow.
The results are invisible. And that's where most people give up. They say, I worked hard, I gave my all, I stayed honest. Still, silence. Still, no return. Still, nothing. But just because the reward didn't come fast, doesn't mean it won't come strong. Some blessings need time to grow. Some compensation needs the right space to land, and the longer it takes, the deeper its roots. So keep going. Keep serving. Keep giving. Keep living in alignment with who you truly are. Because the energy you give to the world is being held, is being multiplied, is being prepared for your return. And when it comes, it will not be small. It will not be rushed. It will be right, because the universe didn't forget. It was just waiting for the perfect time to give you everything you've earned. Not every act is loud. Not every gift is visible. Not every moment of effort is recognized. But they all count. Every time you showed up when it was hard. Every time you stayed kind when you were tired. Every time you gave your best with no applause. Count it. It became part of your vibration. It's part of your momentum. Part of your return, because this law doesn't only reward performance, it rewards alignment. The small kindness you gave without expecting anything back, the encouraging words you spoke when someone needed hope, the integrity you held when no one was watching. That's the real work, and that's the energy that builds your compensation. It might not show up in the same place you gave it. It might not come from the same people you helped. But it will come, because energy doesn't. Forget the universe remembers the small things, the patient things, the honest things. It sees your efforts to grow, your willingness to heal, your choice to rise again and again with love, and all of it adds up. It builds a current beneath the surface until one day the current rises, and it brings with it exactly what you need. Peace, support, opportunities you didn't expect, blessings you almost gave up on, not by accident, but as compensation. Compensation for the energy you gave without condition, for the effort you offered without spotlight, for the truth you lived when it would have been easier to hide. Because in this universe, nothing good is wasted. Keep giving what's real. Keep showing up with heart. Keep doing the quiet, honest work that no one else sees. Because that energy is not forgotten. It's not ignored. It's building every seed of love you plant. It's creating a field of return. Every effort you give without recognition is being recorded by the energy of life itself. And one day, you will see the harvest. Not just in things, not just in money, but in meaning, in peace, in strength, in connection, in moments that feel like life finally saying thank you. Here's what you've earned. Here's what you've been building. You didn't do it for the reward. You did it because it was true, and that truth is what the universe rewards. So don't shrink. Don't stop giving. Don't lose faith. Just because your return isn't here yet, it's coming, and it will be more beautiful, more abundant. It's more aligned than you ever imagined. Because life is always balancing the scale, and what you've given is finding its way back to you. Quietly, powerfully, faithfully. That is the law of compensation. And you're already in motion. The law of relativity, nothing has meaning till you compare it. No experience is truly good. No experience is truly bad till you measure it against something else. That's the law of relativity. It teaches us that everything just is until we give it meaning. Pain is relative. Success is relative. Struggle is relative. It's relative. And the moment you compare your life to someone else's, the moment you measure your journey against someone else's timeline, you lose clarity. You lose truth. You forget that your path was never meant to match theirs, because the truth is, you can only walk your path. You can only feel your experience. And when you judge your life by someone else's story, you distort your own. You start thinking, I should be further. I should be happier. I should have more by now. But those shoulds aren't truth. They're borrowed. They come from outside you, from timelines that aren't yours, from stories that don't fit your soul. That's why this law matters. It reminds you your life is only hard when you compare it to a fantasy. Your progress only feels slow. You measure it by someone else's speed. Your enoughness only fades when you forget how far you've already come. So pause. Come back to your path. Come back to your truth. Not what others have. Not what others show, but what's real for you. Because in the absence of comparison, you'll remember how blessed you already are. Sometimes, the only way to understand joy is to feel pain. Sometimes, the only way to recognize peace is to remember chaos. That's the power of contrast. And that's what this law teaches. You only know what something is because you've experienced what it's not, light. Because you've walked through darkness. Love. Because you've tasted loneliness. Strength. Because you've faced weakness. This isn't punishment. It's perspective. It's how the soul learns to see. Because without contrast, there's no appreciation. Without hardship, gratitude has no depth. Without falling, rising has no meaning. And when you start to see your experiences through this lens, you stop resenting your struggle. You start understanding it. You start seeing how life isn't working against you. It's teaching you, preparing you, sharpening your clarity, because the pain you once carried is now what helps you hold compassion. For others, the confusion you once felt is now what gives you insight. The heaviness you've walked through is now what makes you cherish your peace. That's relativity, not comparing yourself to others, but comparing your own moments to see how far you've come. And when you do that, you start to realize you're not doing as bad as you think. God, grown more than you've noticed. You've healed in ways you forgot to celebrate. And that changes everything. Comparison is a thief. It doesn't steal your success. It doesn't take your joy. It steals your presence. It pulls your focus away from what's real for you. It convinces you that you're behind, that you're not enough, that everyone else is winning while you're still waiting. But here's the truth. You're not behind. You're on a different road. You're not late. You're moving on your own time. because your path was never meant to look like theirs. Your lessons are not the same. Your timing is not the same. Your soul's unfolding is not the same. And that's not a flaw. That's design, because you're not here to copy anyone. You're here to live something authentic. So when you start to compare, pause, breathe, ask yourself, would I trade my entire story just to have what they have? Their joy came with their pain, their progress came with their sacrifices. Their light came with shadows you can't see from the outside, and chances are you wouldn't trade because your story matters, your rhythm matters, your season matters. So instead of comparing, use this law for clarity. Compare where you are to where you've been. Compare how you feel now to how you used to feel. Compare how you react today to how you would have reacted a year ago. That's growth. That's alignment. That's how you use relativity, not to shame yourself, but to see how far you've already come. There will be days when life feels too much, too loud, too fast, too heavy. You'll feel tired, stuck, worn thin, and your mind will whisper, "This is the worst it's ever been." But pause, breathe, and remember, even this, it's relative, because somewhere in your past, you've been through worse. You felt lost before, and still, you found your way. You felt broken before, and still, you stood again. So this moment, as hard as it feels, it's not the end. It's just another chapter. And when you step back, when you zoom out, you begin to see this challenge is small compared to your strength. This fear is loud, but it's not true. This day is hard, but it won't last. That's what the law of relativity reminds you. You've been here before, and you made it through. And now, you're even stronger, even more equipped, even more aware, even more grounded in who you are. So no matter how bad it feels right now, you are not powerless. You are not hopeless. You are not broken. You are simply human moving through another season. And when this passes, you'll look back and say, it wasn't the end. It was a turning point. You are not just living your life, you're interpreting it. Moment by moment, you're giving meaning to what happens, and that meaning shapes your mood, shapes your thoughts, shapes your future. That's why this law matters, because when you realize everything is relative, you understand that you hold more power than you thought. You can shift your focus. You can shift your filter. You can shift the story you're telling yourself. You can say, this is hard, but I've been through harder. This feels like an ending, but maybe it's a redirection. This isn't where I want to be. It's where I need to be right now. Perspective is everything. It doesn't deny reality. It doesn't fake positivity. It simply widens your view. It helps you see that what feels like failure today may become your greatest wisdom tomorrow. It helps you remember that someone else would pray for what you already have. It brings you back to truth, back to gratitude, back to peace. Because when you stop comparing, you start appreciating. When you stop resisting, you start accepting. And when you start seeing life clearly, you realize it's not happening to you, it's happening for you. Always guiding, always growing, it's always unfolding in perfect time. That is the law of relativity, and it reminds you, you don't have to change everything. Sometimes you just have to see it differently. The law of polarity, everything in life, has two sides, up and down, light and dark, joy and sadness, fear and faith, stuck and free. That's the law of polarity, it tells us. Nothing exists alone. Every feeling you have has an opposite. Every problem carries solution. Every breakdown holds the seed of breakthrough. This isn't just a theory, it's how the universe works. Because without contrast, nothing can exist. You can't feel warmth unless you felt cold. Can't know peace without some chaos. Can't know who you are without facing who you are not. That's polarity. Two ends of the same stick. And the beautiful part is this. If you're on one end, you can move to the other. If you're in fear, you can shift into trust. If you're stuck, you can shift into momentum. If you're lost, you can shift into clarity. You don't have to stay where you are, because built into every experience is its opposite. Built into every shadow is the potential for light. And the moment you realize that, you begin to feel free. Not because life is easy, but because life is balanced, and you get to choose where you stand when you're in the middle of pain. It's hard to imagine peace when you're deep in fear. It's hard to feel courage when you're lost in confusion. It's hard to remember what clarity feels like, but here's the truth. The opposite is already there. It's not far away. It's not something you have to create from nothing. It already exists on the other end of the same energy, because every state of being is an equal and opposite state waiting to be reached. That's polarity. It means your pain already holds the potential for healing. Your sadness already carries the seed of joy. Your fear is the doorway to your faith. But you can't access the opposite until you become aware that what you're feeling is not permanent, aware that how things feel now isn't how they'll always be, aware that you are allowed to shift, because awareness is the switch. It's what helps you say, "This isn't where I want to stay. I'm in fear, but I choose to lean into trust. I feel weak, but I choose to move towards strength." That shift doesn't always happen instantly. But the moment you become aware that the opposite exists, you open the door, you change the direction of your energy, you stop spiraling downward, start rising breath by breath, step by step. Because once you see both sides, you can choose which one to feed. Some of your greatest pain will lead to your deepest purpose. Some of your hardest moments will shape your highest strength. It doesn't feel like that when you're in it. It feels heavy, unfair, empty, but hidden inside that struggle, it's the opposite. And that's not just hopeful thinking. That's the law. Polarity says, if this exists, its opposite must also exist. So if you're surrounded by noise, there's silence waiting. If you feel stuck, freedom is already forming. If you feel weak, your strength is waking up, because nothing in life is one-sided. The deeper the shadow, the brighter the light behind it, the stronger the fear. It's the greater the power waiting underneath it, the more lost you feel. The closer you are to discovering who you really are. But to see that, you have to lean in, not run, not numb, not deny. You have to look directly at what's hard and say, there must be something in this for me. There's something here I need to see. There's something on the other side of this, and I'm willing to move toward it. You're on there. That's how transformation begins. Not by avoiding the negative, but by finding the opposite hidden inside it. Because the more extreme the challenge, the more powerful the shift can be. You don't have to stay where you are. Not emotionally, not mentally, not energetically. You can pivot. You can shift. You can move from one end of the emotional spectrum to the other. Not all at once, but gradually. intentionally, lovingly, because polarity gives you that power, it says. If you're in fear, courage is close. If you're stuck in doubt, clarity is within reach. If you're feeling low, the rise is possible, but you must choose to shift, and that shift begins small. It's not a leap. It's a turn in thought, a turn in breath, a turn in what you focus on. You say, I'm scared, but I'm still going to take the next step. I feel lost, but I trust that the path will become clear. I'm overwhelmed, but I choose to slow down and breathe. That moment when you choose a different direction is polarity in action. It's when you stop feeding the energy that drains you and start feeding the one that strengthens. You don't have to pretend. You don't have to fake positivity. You simply shift your attention from what disempowers you to what builds you, from what's out of your control to what's in your hands right now. And with every small pivot, your emotional position begins to rise. And as you rise, so does your clarity, your energy, your ability to respond instead of react. That's how change begins, not in giant moves, but in small. Sacred shifts moment by moment, both sides. Always exist, the fear and the faith, the problem, the possibility, the darkness, and the light. You're never trapped in one. You're simply standing on one end, and the moment you remember that the other end is real, you remember your power. You remember that even on your hardest day, peace still exists. That even in your confusion, clarity is possible. That even when everything feels wrong, something good is still waiting. You don't have to fight your way there. You don't have to rush. You just have to turn. Shift your attention, shift your breath, shift your belief. And little by little, you begin to rise. Because the law of polarity doesn't just describe opposites. It offers direction. It says, if you know what you don't want, you're closer to knowing what you do want. If you've seen what hurts, you're more ready to move toward what heals. If you've lived what doesn't fit, you're clearer about what finally feels true. So don't be afraid of where you are. Just don't stay there. Remember, you can move, you can shift, you can walk from one side to the other. And when you do, you'll find that everything you needed was already waiting, because nothing in this universe is one-sided. That is the law of polarity. And now, you know how to use it. The law of rhythm life has a rhythm, a natural rise and fall, a forward and a pause, a season of doing and a season of becoming. Just like the ocean, the tide rolls in, and then it rolls out. You don't fight it. You don't rush it. You trust it, because that's what the law of rhythm teaches. Everything moves in cycles. There are seasons for growth and seasons for rest, moments of clarity and moments of confusion, times when everything flows easily and times when nothing seems to move. But none of it is wrong. It's rhythm. And when you stop resisting the rhythm, you start finding peace, because most of your suffering doesn't come from where you are. It comes from wishing you were somewhere else. It comes from thinking, I should be further, should be more productive. I should always feel happy. But nothing in nature blooms all year. The moon doesn't stay full. The tide doesn't always rise. The heart doesn't beat in one constant line. Everything pulses. Everything flows. And when you accept that, you stop fighting the quiet. Seasons. You stop judging the slower days. You begin to trust. This pause has purpose. This stillness has meaning. This moment is part of the rhythm. Some days are fast. Some days are slow. Some seasons are filled with motion, and others ask you to pause. That's not failure. That's rhythm. But we forget that. We think if we're not moving forward, we must be falling behind. We think if we're not producing, we must be wasting time. But growth doesn't always look like action. Sometimes growth happens in stillness, in silence, in the pause between what was and what's becoming. That's part of the rhythm too. And the more you honor it, the more peaceful life becomes. You stop pushing when your body says rest. You stop judging the quiet days. Stop comparing your winter to someone else's summer, because your rhythm is your own, and just like music. The pause between the notes is part of the song, so ask yourself, what season am I in? Am I being called to rise or to reflect, to build or to breathe, to speak or to listen? And whatever the answer is, let it be okay. Let it be enough, because when you work with your rhythm, life begins to feel less like a struggle and more like a dance. Nothing stays forever. Not the joy, not the pain, not the certainty, not the confusion. Everything moves, everything flows. That's the rhythm. So when you're in a high season, enjoy it, feel it, celebrate it, but don't cling to it, because rhythm means it will shift. And when it does, that's not failure. That's life returning to balance. The same is true when you're in a low. It hurts. It's heavy. It's hard to see past it. But even this, it's not forever. Because rhythm means even the darkest night moves toward morning, even the stillest winter leads to spring, even your lowest point holds the beginning of your rise. So don't fear the low moments. Don't rush to escape them. Don't think something's gone wrong. They're part of the rhythm. They're part of your cycle. They're part of your becoming. And when you stop fearing the lows, you stop gripping the highs. You live more open, more steady, more free, because you know. No season defines you. No feeling is permanent. No rhythm lasts forever, but all of it is valuable. Change is constant. It doesn't ask for your permission. It doesn't wait for your comfort. It moves with rhythm. And if you try to hold still while everything shifts, you'll feel tension. You'll feel fear. You'll feel resistance. But when you trust the rhythm, you start to flow with life. You stop gripping what's fading. You stop fearing what's next. You start allowing what is. Because peace isn't found in control. Peace is found in trust. Trusting that the rhythm of your life is intelligent, that it knows when to move forward, when to slow down, that it knows when to bring people in, and when to let them go, even when it hurts, even when it's confusing, because you've felt this before. A chapter ending, a door closing, a pause you didn't expect, and somehow you kept going. You adapted, you healed, you found your balance. Again, because rhythm always brings you back to clarity, back to alignment, back to yourself. So when life changes suddenly, don't panic. Breathe and say, this is rhythm. I don't have to rush. I don't have to control. I just have to trust the flow. You don't have to rush. You don't have to force. You don't have to be on all the time, because life isn't a straight line. It's a wave, a pulse, a rhythm. And when you honor that, you begin to breathe easier. You begin to move with time, not against it. You stop chasing. You stop comparing. You stop trying to outrun your own path, and you begin to flow. You rise when it's time to rise. You rest when it's time to rest. You listen when it's time to be still. You act when it's time to move, and you trust that your rhythm is right for you, even if it looks different, even if it feels slow, even if no one else understands it. Because your peace doesn't live in someone else's pace. It lives in your own alignment. And when you're in rhythm with yourself, everything starts to feel lighter. The pressure softens. The noise fades. Clarity returns. You stop trying to keep up, and you start learning how to keep balance. That's what the law of rhythm teaches you. You don't have to be everything all the time. You just have to be present in the season you're in. The law of gender, you carry both energies inside you, masculine and feminine action and stillness. Doing. It's the law of gender. Isn't about, it's biology, it's about energy. It's about learning how to balance the parts of you that drive forward with the parts of you that slow down and receive. The masculine is focus, direction, discipline, logic, structure, push. The feminine is feeling, flow, intuition, creativity, rest, pull. You need both, but most of us live in extremes. We push too hard and forget how to soften. We give too much and forget how to receive. We stay busy and forget how to be. That imbalance causes burnout. It causes disconnection. It creates a life that looks full, feels empty. Because true alignment comes from integration, from honoring all sides of yourself, not just the one that performs, but the one that feels, not just the one that speaks, but the one that listens. And when you begin to recognize these energies within you, you begin to create balance. You begin to feel whole. Sometimes you feel drained, not because you're weak, but because you've been in one energy for too long. You've been giving, but not receiving. You've been doing, but not resting. You've been thinking, but not feeling. And that creates imbalance. Your masculine energy leads you to action, but without the feminine, you forget how to pause. Your feminine energy opens your heart, but without the masculine, you forget how to protect it. You need both, and life begins to feel heavy, and one is missing. That's why you feel tired after always pushing. That's why you feel lost after overthinking. That's why you feel numb after staying in control for too long. You're not broken. You're just disconnected from the other half of you. So pause. Ask yourself, have I been stuck in doing and forgotten how to just be? Have I been too soft and forgotten how to set clear boundaries? Have I been always in motion and forgotten how to receive support? Your answers will show you what you need, not from the outside, but from within. Because when you reconnect with your opposite energy, you come back to center. You feel steady, whole, balanced again. You're not stuck in one energy. You have access. It's both. You can activate what's needed. When life calls for structure, you can step into your masculine. When life calls for softness, you can flow into your feminine. This is conscious balance. This is energetic. Wisdom, because every moment asks something different from you. Some moments ask you to lead, to focus, to take action, to protect your peace. That's masculine energy. Strong, clear, direct, grounded. Other moments ask you to feel, to receive, to create, to surrender. That's feminine energy, open, gentle, flowing, intuitive, you. Don't need to choose one forever. You just need to listen. What is this moment asking of me? Not what the world wants, not what habit demands, but what your truth needs right now. And then you step into it. You hold both tools in your hands, the structure that builds, the spirit that breathes life into it. That's your power. That's your balance. And when you learn how to move between them, you stop feeling pulled apart. You begin to feel whole. Every relationship is a dance between energies, masculine and feminine, giving and receiving, holding and releasing, speaking and listening. It's not about roles, not about control. It's about balance. Because when two people bring awareness to their energy, the relationship becomes clear, becomes alive. It becomes safe. But when one energy dominates too much, the flow breaks. Too much masculine energy, and the space becomes rigid, focused on outcomes. Too little softness, too much feminine energy, and the space becomes ungrounded. Too emotional, no structure to hold things steady. We need both. In love, in family, in friendship. Sometimes you'll be the one who leads. Sometimes you'll be the one who follows. Sometimes you'll hold space for others to express. Other times you'll step forward to protect. It's a constant dance, and the more you listen, the more you flow with it. Because a strong relationship isn't about who's in control. It's about mutual awareness. It's about honoring what the moment needs. It's about giving each other the freedom to move between energies, to take turns, to support, to receive. That's real intimacy. That's real balance. That's loving. Rhythm, you are not missing anything. You are not lacking a piece. You are not waiting to be completed. You are not broken, because everything you need is already within you. You have the strength and the softness, the logic and the feeling, the discipline and the flow. You carry both. You've always carried both. But somewhere along the way, you were told to hide one, to favor one side, to lead with what the world expected. But now, you remember the truth. You're not just fire. You're also water. You're not just doing, you're also being. You're not just the one who pushes forward. You're also the one who sits in silence and listens deeply. And when you bring those sides together, you become unstoppable. Not because you force life to happen, but because you flow with life. Not because you control everything, but because you trust your own rhythm. You stop chasing balance on the outside, because you found it inside. And that's the gift of the law of gender. It brings you back to center, asterisk. It helps you see yourself clearly, and it reminds you you are not half. You are not incomplete. You are the union of both, masculine and feminine, strength and surrender, voice and silence, power and peace. You are whole. In the moment you live from that truth, your entire life begins to reflect it. You've now walked through the law of divine oneness, the law of vibration, the law of correspondence, the law of attraction, the law of inspired action, the law of perpetual transmutation of energy, the law of cause and effect, the law of compensation, the law of relativity, the law of polarity, the law of rhythm, the law of gender, each one a piece of the deeper truth. You are energy. You are creator. You are connection. You are rhythm. You are complete. Let this wisdom live in your choices. Let it breathe through your voice. Let it move with your body. Let it settle in your heart. And most of all, let it remind you are never separate from the universe, because you are the universe.